Hi everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's episode of Essential Skills in Here's the Storm, we're actually going to do something of a discussion. This is inspired by a post that was put up just 5 hours ago on the Here's the Storm subreddit by a guy called IL Guidus. I'm probably saying that completely wrong, so I'm sorry about that. But I will have the link down in the description, so go click on that link. You can come over here, and this is a straw poll. It's a poll, and almost 2,000 people have voted in this so far. We're going to take a look at the options in a second, but do come over here, upvote this, leave a comment if you want to join in with his discussion. I just wanted to, again, discuss the results of this poll and what I think they mean and what I think the right options and right answers are. But here is the original one. If we click into it, we can see here are the options. So, how much rank reflects skill? Option number 1, it reflects it a lot. A rank 1 is always better than somebody lower. Option number 2, it reflects it enough. Sometimes people don't deserve their rank, but on average, skill is reflected. Option number 3, rank does not reflect skill too much. Rank is not a good measure for skill, but there may be a difference between high ranks and low ranks. Or option number 4, rank does not reflect skill at all. I could be a rank 30 could be a rank 1 and vice versa. So again, before I dive into this, tell you my answer, and we take a look at what other people have answered, I do recommend you guys pop over and vote for yourself and come back to this video. Pause it right now because I'm going over to the answers, and we'll discuss them then in a second. Okay, and here we are. So far there have been 1,879 total votes, and here's how they have panned out. So 8% of the vote have gone, in fact the smallest proportion of the vote has gone for the first option, that rank is a great indicator of skill. A rank 1 is always better than somebody lower. This is actually the least popular option. Option number 2 is the most popular, and this is the one that I voted for, which is that enough that some people don't deserve their rank, but averagely skill is reflected. That generally speaking, your rank does reflect your skill, and I'm going to talk about why. Option number 3 got 32% of the vote, so actually quite a large proportion of the vote have gone for option number 3 here, that rank is not a good measure for skill, but there may be a difference between high ranks and low ranks. And option number 4 then has got 11% of the vote, so small number, but it's still there, which is that a rank 1, and you can see the votes are going up as we go, a rank 1 could be a rank 30 and vice versa. Well, you know what? Let's talk about option number 4 first. Let's talk about that. And I'm going to use some data that I have come across from my own games. This is a series I'm doing on my channel at the moment, Road to Rank 1. And Here's the Storm in Hero League. So our first game was with, roughly speaking, rank 40 people. Roughly speaking, 1,000 MMR. MMR is the sort of rating system that HotS uses, and HotS is the site that we're going to use to analyze some of the details of these games. It took until our 11th game here to play our first game with rank 1 players. So again, going back to the idea of a rank 30 versus a rank 1. Do we have any games that represent that? Well, luckily we do. So the games I have chosen out, I have actually gone for 2 games here. Hero League number 5 and game number 6, because game number 5, as you can see on average, the ranks on average are about 35. Then in our 6th game, the ranks on average were about 25. So unfortunately, I don't have anything directly on rank 30, but we have ones to both sides of it. Then for our first game at rank 1, this was actually the 11th game. You can't quite see the title here because I put in first game at rank 1, hooray! But yeah, I thought this would actually be a good comparison because you guys, if you want, you can go and watch this right now. You can sit down and you can see, here's a game with rank 35 people. Here's a game with rank 1 people. You can watch them back to back. You can watch them on double speed. I don't care. Whatever you guys want. But I can tell you, you don't even have to watch them. I'll just tell you what the answer is, right? There's a huge difference. There's an absolutely massive difference between player skill, between strategy, between mechanics. It's just night and day. Rank 35 versus rank 1, they are completely different. They are not even slightly interchangeable. Just go watch the games if you want. I'm obviously not going to go through it now, but it's the difference is monumental. If we go over to HotS, we can see the info for these games. So this is the 5th game on Blackheart's Bay. Again, 20 minutes long, roughly speaking. On the average MMR of the teams, our team was 1,437. The enemy team was 1,246. Again, at that time I was at 1,900, so I was quite a bit ahead. But this is again 5th placement game, which is why it's a bit off. Then if we jump over to the rank 1 game, again, so this one right here with the rank 1s and like a rank 6 and so on, we can see that the average team MMR is 3,143 and the enemy team is 2,859. And you know what, that I think if you do watch this game, one of the big things to watch out for, I obviously didn't know when I was recording this, but I did notice it in hindsight, was that their Nova was definitely the weak link of their team. First of all, I don't think the Nova pick fits in this particular map, whereas I don't think there was a Nova. Okay, there's a Zeratul in this rank 35 game, and Zeratul was just tearing their team apart. That one of the things that you notice very much at rank, say, 35 is that they cannot deal with stealth characters at all, whereas at rank 1, they're very good at dealing with them. Like, that stealth characters actually Zeratul is still good, but for different reasons than that, really. Nova, definitely something of a liability. And again, if we look at the stats over here, we can see that guy's MMR was only 1,700. If we open up his stat sheet over here, we can see that, yeah, in terms of quick match, his MMR is only 2,341. He was definitely, and he's got barely any games played as well. He's just kind of jumped straight into ranked. So he was definitely a weak link on their team. Though I suppose to make up for it, they had like this guy Nasty. He was at 3,890. Which, yeah, roughly speaking, I mean, it gives you an insight. It gives you an insight. You can watch the game and you can see that, yeah, okay, their Li Ming is really good, but their Nova turns out to be something of a weak link in that team. I thought over here in rank 25, this is interesting, and for this I want to talk about the idea that sometimes people don't deserve their rank, but on average their skills reflected, or that, you know, there can be a difference between high ranks and low ranks, but sometimes between similar ranks that it doesn't perfectly represent skill. Let's jump over, we can X this off. Let's jump over to this. So this is the HotS information for the game at rank 25. What I want to show you is, let's take a look at our Abathur, Dizzy, and our Lunara, Ezreal. And what we can see is, at the time this was recorded, Dizzy was sitting at about 1,800 MMR, and Ezreal was sitting at about 1,100 MMR. If we jump over to the ranks, though, we can see that Abathur is ranked 26, whereas Lunara is ranked 27. So despite the fact that in terms of MMR, Abathur is almost twice as much. He's not far off. He's got at least, what is that, 60%, 70% more MMR than she does. He's significantly higher. He's only, one rank higher up. So that's quite a dramatic difference right there. That's absolutely a dramatic difference between perhaps a more accurate representation of skill and what the rank would lead you to believe. Now, it is worth noting that at the time, as we can see, the MMR changes, that our Abathur is very much established at his rank. He's played a lot of games, so the system has a very good estimation of what his MMR is, whereas Lunara, she's getting 58 per game still, which shows you that she's obviously probably just come out of replacement games. Well, at the time that this was recorded, she was only just out of replacement games. Her MMR is still very fluid. As you can see, mine, again, this is the 6th game I played. I'm getting like 247 for a win, whereas Abathur's only getting 8. That's because, again, the more games you play, the more of an idea the HotS system gets of your skill. So she's still getting a lot. And if we do open up her profile, which I checked before this, we can see that, for example, right now she's sitting at 1,500. So, and in terms of quick match, she's actually at 1,900. So, in this case, I suppose it might not be the most accurate representation of her skill, but still, at the same time, this is her skill calculated from HotS as to how well she was doing in those games. And this is the skill HotS calculated from how well Abathur was doing in his ranked games, yet the Heroes of the Storm system placed them in essentially the same rank. And I think that fact can definitely lead to some frustration that sometimes, you know, these differences between rank, sometimes you could even have like a better player on a lower rank. It is possible. So that's why I went for this option right here, option number 2, which I think is probably the most accurate option overall, is that sometimes people don't deserve their rank, but on average their skill is reflected. Again, I think it's quite clear that option number 1 just isn't true, that rank is a really good reflection of skill. You know, sometimes it's not, just because people can be playing in ranked with very few amount of games played. And also worth bearing in mind that heroes, hero roles, your hero level, all these things also have an impact as well. For example, they could play ranked, and you could say, I'm going to pick Johanna every single game. If I don't get Johanna, I'll pick Anubarak, because Anubarak is never picked or banned. So he's my backup. I'll go for Johanna every game, if not. You could get to rank 1 being really good at those 2 heroes, but that could mean you could be awful at like assassins, specialist supports. You could be bad at other warriors as well. You know what I mean? Just because you get to a high rank with couple of heroes, you can do that, and then you might be terrible at other ones. It's not perfect. For example, for myself, like I'm currently at whatever, playing with rank 1s and so on. So you think, oh, well, hey, look, Nubkeks is rank 1. He must be pretty good. He must be better than anyone who's lower than rank 1. Well, I can tell you for a fact that if I'm on Zeratul, I'm like the worst Zeratul player you've ever seen. I've a 25% win rate with Zeratul. I'm absolutely awful. It's a rank 10 Zeratul is probably better than me. I can't play that hero. I'm really bad at that hero. And it's worth noting as well that within rank 1, you can have massive variance in terms of MMR. For example, Uther here is 2,900. He's rank 1. Then this Li Ming, she's 3,890, and she's rank 1 as well. They're both considered rank 1, so just looking at their ranks, you wouldn't know there's a big difference in skill. Yet clearly there, when you look at the HotS stats, there's an absolutely just astronomical difference in their skill levels. Li Ming is a much better player than the Uther, but again, you don't know that from the rank 1s. And that's because rank 1 is so broad. I think it goes from roughly 2,700, very roughly MMR, all the way up to over 4,000. There's a huge range of skill within there, but it's just because there are low amounts of players at that skill, which is why it can be that way. And I think that's also worth noting that, say, in roughly this range, like the 1,600 range, there's going to be a lot of players here. There's probably as many players between 1,600 and 1,700 as there are between 3,500 and 4,500. It's much more condensed, so you might see much more variance in ranks with smaller MMRs at these very condensed regions where you have a lot of people playing. So there you go, guys. That's my 2 cents on the whole thing, with some data to back it up. Again, you can go watch the rank 35 game and the rank 1 game on the same map, and you can see very visibly just how different the playstyles are. I think that, again, very much so, there can be some variance in rank, but on average, yeah, it does reflect your skill. A rank 1 is going to be, if they're on heroes that they're good at, it's going to be a good player. If you see a rank 1 doing terribly, they're probably playing a hero that they're terrible with, or, they're just not paying attention or something. But absolutely not the case that a rank 30 and a rank 1 are interchangeable. There's a massive difference. In terms of MMR, for example, I have found, and again, I've been playing at roughly 3,100 to 3,300, that sort of region of MMR in quick match for the better part of a year. And in my experience, I can tell when I'm playing at that level when there's a 200 to 300 difference in the average MMR of a team. So for example, when I'm playing at with an average MMR team of 3,200, 3,300, I feel like, hey, these guys are all pretty good. On about 3 or 4, again, there's so few players at the high ranks. In the 3 or 4 occasions where I've played with 3,500 MMR teams, I'm kind of thinking wow, these guys are really good, and that's an absolutely awesome game. When I play with 2,900 or 3,000 MMR heroes, I'm a little bit disappointed, but mostly, for the most part, when I play with, say, sometimes you get a 2,700 game, and that feels really bad. It's extremely frustrating, and you don't know what to expect when you're going into a game, but it absolutely is detectable. I think at the MMR I'm at anyway, differences in 200 to 300 MMR, you can absolutely see it, and you can see that in players as well. When someone plays really well, usually speaking, I can say, okay, judging from how they played in this game, I have a rough idea of their MMR. It's not always right, to be fair. It's not always right, but in most cases it is. And I mean, that sums it up, really. On average, it does reflect your skill. Both rank and MMR, they both do. To be fair, there was one game I had about a month ago, and there's this Illidan who was just tearing the enemy team apart, and I thought, wow, this guy's amazing. It turns out he was on 2,800 MMR. He had a 40% win rate on Illidan. He wasn't that good at Illidan. He wasn't an amazing player, but in that particular game, he just did so well. He was crushing it. And we had a lead. Obviously the rest of our team were kind of enabling him as well. The enemy team wasn't playing great, or whatever the factors combined. It was just in quick match, so it's hard to say. There's a lot of random factors that could come into it. But that guy seemed like an absolutely amazing player just from that one game. So I think you have to be careful not to judge this on just one game where you play with a rank 1 and they suck. Or you play one game with a rank 10 and they're amazing. You have to judge it, and it's very hard to judge this, but you have to judge it over, a long period playing with lots of games. And I can definitely say from my experience, you can definitely tell the difference. But yeah, rank 1 doesn't mean you're always better. No, it doesn't. Just average skills reflected. I'm rambling a lot. I need to end this. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.